Do you have an unexpected litter coming and don't know what items you need? In this video, I'm going to go over exactly what you need when you bring home your litter after your C-section. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to get a whelping box. Now I have a whelping pen is what I like to call it. So my whelping pen, this is exactly what mine looks like. I have the heat pad, I have the metal pen, and of course the protectors that we'll go into. But this is what I do, and what some people also do is I've seen them use a kiddie pool. They've used that for a whelping pen. They've used a garden box. You can get garden boxes from Costco. I believe those cost around like $90 or so, and then you can add on to them as well. I've actually used that, but I have to buy 2 of them so that way the moms don't jump out and escape. But also, this is something that I like to do because I like to look through the walls and I like to see the puppies. Now, I know there's a bunch of other fancy whelping boxes out here on the market, but this is just something that works for me, and it works for what I do. Another thing is you guys need a heat source. So you can either use a heat pad or a heat lamp. In this case, I'm using a heat lamp, but when you are using, deciding which one you want, heat pad or heat lamp, keep in mind that you want to make sure that the puppies have an area to escape the heat from. So with that being said, you don't want these puppies to overheat. If they overheat, it's going to cause a bunch of internal problems, and these puppies, they can actually die from it. So you want to make sure that they have an area to escape away from the light, away from the heat pad, so that way they don't overheat and mom doesn't overheat as well. The second thing is you want to make sure that you have your floors protected. Now, I've seen all kinds of different setups where people have laid puppy pads down, they've laid carpet protectors, they've even done linoleum. So they've laid down a sheet of linoleum as well. Any of those items work for you. If you definitely have carpet, get you a carpet protector. So I use washable pee pads here. You can get these from Amazon. I have a bunch of these, and honestly they work tremendously. Underneath them I always like to use puppy pads just in case, but that's just something that works for me. So going into the items that we need. So first things first, when you have your first litter, sometimes mom doesn't produce milk right away. So with that being said, I definitely recommend getting you a colostrum supplement. This is from NurtureMate, or this is Breeder's Edge, from Breeder's Edge. This is NurtureMate colostrum. They also make a calcium supplement too called NutriCal. Definitely go check that out on revival.com. But this right here is something that you want to have on deck just in case mom's colostrum and her milk doesn't come in time. Another thing I would definitely recommend is having on hand some puppy formula. Now, as I mentioned before, that sometimes the mom's milk is delayed coming in because she did have a C-section. So definitely get you a source of puppy formula on hand. I like to use the powder version, but honestly, you can use the liquid form if you want. This is a brand that I like to use, but you don't have to use this brand. You can use any brand you like, but this is just something I like to use because it's easy on the newborn puppy's stomachs. Now, I've also seen people where they've created their own puppy formula using eggs and yogurt and all these different things, but personally I don't recommend it because I want to make sure that these puppies are getting exactly what they need and it's filling all of their nutritional requirements. Another thing, speaking of nutritional requirements, that I like to do is I like to give my mom's puppy blocks when my moms are nursing. So this has all of the amino acids that the puppies are going to need to give them a great start in life. And of course, when you're whelping, you want to make sure these puppies have the absolute best nutrition possible to give them that great boost. So I like to use puppy blocks for the moms, give it to them in their diet. And of course, when the puppies grow up, I put this in the puppy mush as well. So you can find this on mydogsteps.com. Also, when you are whelping, keep in mind that sometimes these puppies, they can have emergencies where they need a spike in their blood glucose levels. So they're gonna need blood sugar. Sometimes these puppies, they start to fade, and a good thing to have on deck at all times are Karo syrup and also sweetened condensed milk. Now you can use either one of these. I've used them interchangeably, but this one right here, it's gonna have that sweet milky flavor that the puppies are used to, and then also the Karo syrup. This is definitely going to spike their blood sugar levels. So if you notice a puppy is fading, this is definitely something really good to put on their gums to kind of give them that surge of energy to kind of kickstart their health. Another thing too is great to have on deck is liver. So I use calf liver, and calf liver is used to make liver water. Liver water has all the minerals and iron that these puppies need in case they are fading. So definitely something to consider when you are shopping for these items. Just keep some calf liver frozen in the freezer and then pull it out when you need it. And then I'll show you in another video on how to make the liver water to save a fading puppy. The other item that I recommend is definitely getting you a feeding tube. So this right here is a 5 French feeding tube. That's the size. They also have 8 French and 3 French, but if you're using a larger breed, you'll probably need anywhere from the 5 to 8 French size. I do smaller breeds, so I whelp Frenchies a lot. So in this case, I use the 3 French and then also the 5 French as they grow. There are clear feeding tubes. I haven't had a chance to get my hand on it yet, but you definitely want to get a feeding tube and also a feeding syringe as well. So that way, if the puppy has any issues in the middle of the night, you're not scrambling. I've been there, done that. You always want to make sure you have a feeding tube on deck and then also have a backup one just in case. So another thing would be a syringe with also a silicone tip. Now you can have little tips like this. I know Miracle Nipple definitely does have sell sets like these, but what I use these for is the liver water and also the Karo syrup. So these are definitely really good to use. Silicone tip and then also a 1 milliliter syringe. If you are buying syringes, I definitely recommend the 1 milliliter, 3 milliliters, 5 milliliters, and then anything over 10 for feeding larger puppies. Definitely a good note to take into consideration. A second thing would be for constipation, just to have on deck. Mylicon, I use this for puppy gas, so if the puppy's bloated, this is definitely something that have worked for me many times. And if they're constipated before doing an enema, I always do a couple drops of mineral water in the formula. You don't want to put this directly in their mouth because this is basically like baby oil consistency. So you don't want to put it directly in their mouth. Always mix it with like their formula or something else so that way the puppy's not choking on the oil per se. You also want to make sure that you have an aspirator. Now everyone's used to these bulb nasal aspirators for children. They are good. However, I personally use these to get the formula that's stuck at the back of the throat. I love to use my Frida Baby. This is a nasal aspirator. It has a silicone top on it and it is rechargeable as well. So this is something that I love to use, and it also has 3 speeds on it, so you can use low, medium, or high. And of course this whole thing comes detached and you can clean it out and wash it out. But this is something that I like to use for my brachycephalic breeds. Definitely works way better than the traditional nasal bulb aspirator, only because this one I don't feel has enough suction power behind it. And if you notice the tip here, the tip is actually a lot bigger, so when I go to put it up to the Frenchie's noses, it seems like it kind of, it covers it too much. And I want to get directly in the little nostril. That's what this cute little spout is here for. So definitely something to consider. This is just something that I use. And then of course there's all kinds of other different, types of aspirators on the market, but this is something I like to use because it's portable and I can clean it easily. Another thing is a baby bottle. Make sure you have a baby bottle just in case. This is just something that I've had on deck for a couple of my litters, but you can get newborn baby bottles, and the newborn baby bottles, you can get them anywhere, Walgreens, Target, Walmart even, so a baby bottle would definitely be really good to have. Another thing would be a thermometer. So this is a digital thermometer that I have, and also some Vaseline. If you have to take a puppy's temperature and you don't know whether you have a cold puppy or you don't know whether the puppy's fading, definitely a thermometer will help you identifying if you have a cold fading puppy. I can't tell you how many times I've used this, and then also how many times that I've lost it in the middle of the night and I have a puppy that I feel like is getting chilled and I can't find this. So definitely have a thermometer on hand with some Vaseline to do to perform rectal temperature, but also keep a backup just in case, because you don't want to be like me scrambling for the thermometer in the middle of the night and nothing's open. So definitely keep the thermometer on hand. Another item is iodine and also your cotton balls. So iodine right here, this is what I use after the C-section for umbilical cord care. You just put a little bit on the cotton ball and then just clean the umbilical cord area so that way the site doesn't become infected. So when you do take the puppies from the vet after the C-section, they will have some umbilical cord care done as far as tying the umbilical cords, obviously cutting it, trimming it, but some vets don't. So always keep this on hand to treat the umbilical site, because that site is an open site and it's a breeding ground for bacteria because these puppies can't walk yet, so they're crawling on their stomachs. Definitely keep that site clean so that way it doesn't become infected. Another item would be shoe protectors. So shoe protectors right here are actually really big, and honestly you can use shoe protectors or you can use a certain type of shoe so that way you're using a sanitized thing on your feet when you come in and out. You don't want to track in any coccidia, parvo, anything like that inside your whelping area. You always want to make sure your whelping area is clean, so that's why we use the shoe protectors. Now I have done a designated pair of shoes in here and I've bleached the bottom of it, and they're only used while you're in the whelping area. That's fine too, whatever works for you. Since we're talking about floor care, a great thing to have is, this is what I use, this is bleach and water. So bleach kills literally everything. I love to put bleach in here, bleach and water, obviously dilute it, 1 cup of bleach per gallon of water, and I just spray all of the areas that I've came in contact with on a daily. So this is definitely something that will help keep your whelping area clean and sanitized and keep your puppies and mamas safe. Another item would be chlorhexidine. So chlorhexidine, these are available in also wipes, but I've actually got this from my local store. This is something that I highly recommend having on deck. Notice how I diluted a little bit here in my spray bottles so I don't have to keep lugging this around. But chlorhexidine is one of those things where you want to make sure that your mamas are being properly cleaned every single time that you go to put the puppies on to nurse. So for instance, moms go outside to go to the bathroom. You don't want them to track in everything that they just picked up outside, bring that inside and directly give it to the puppies. The puppies, they can't regulate their immune system yet, so the chlorhexidine will definitely clean the skin, clean it of any viruses, bacteria, and it'll be safe for the puppies so that way when they nurse, you're not going to worry about them getting sick and then also coming down with something and possibly dying. So chlorhexidine, definitely a good thing to keep on hand. Another thing would be have a tracking system. So this is my tracking system here. I'm not going to show you guys exactly what I use, but as you can tell, I'm tracking quite a few different things. But have a tracking system where you can figure out when was the last time your puppies ate, when was the last time your mom ate, Also, you want to make sure you're tracking their weights daily, morning and night, so that way you know which ones are gaining weight and which ones are not. And this is definitely helpful when you are wondering why you have a small puppy. Well, it's probably because they're not eating as much, or they skipped a feeding, or they could possibly be fading and something can be wrong with them and they can die. So definitely use a tracking system to track your puppies. And then also keep on hand some baby wipes, so that way you can clean the puppy's booties, and then also some gloves as well. So these are non-scented baby wipes, and then of course the Kirkland brand of gloves. We go through these very often, so definitely want to keep on hand your baby wipes, so that way you can stimulate the puppies if mom's not stimulating them, and then you can wipe the puppy's bottoms and clean the puppies. And then also on that note, have your cotton balls handy too, because your cotton balls will determine if your puppies are dehydrated or not. So on the wipes, sometimes you can't see if the puppy's urine is a yellow color or if, you know, the puppy's urine is a clear color. Definitely use a cotton ball to test it out to make sure that they're not dehydrated. So it'll show up way better on the cotton ball than it will the wipes. And the last thing that I recommend having is a stethoscope. Now, you don't need the stethoscope, but I highly recommend having it, because when you work with brachycephalic breeds, and when you are when you have a puppy that is consuming too much milk, sometimes you can hear the puppy have a little bit of congestion in their chest, and you want to make sure you get that out as much as possible, so that way they don't aspirate and it develops into pneumonia. So I like to use my stethoscope to listen after every feeding, to make sure that these puppies are clear, they're breathing okay, they're not wheezing, there's nothing in their chest that's making them sound a little raspy. So definitely a good tool to have on hand when you are whelping your litters. And the last thing that I completely forgot to mention, have on hand a baby scale. So this is one that I have right here. This does pounds, ounces, and also kilograms. I would recommend getting one with grams. You want to have one with grams, because that way you can track incrementally the weight gain or weight loss of your puppies. So when starting out, definitely measure in grams, and then after about a week or 2 weeks, definitely take the ounces and the pounds weight conversion. But when you're tracking these things every morning, every night, every day, definitely use grams, because the grams will show you how much and how little that these puppies have gained. So these are the bare minimum essentials that you guys need to get through the first 3 weeks when having an unexpected litter, or even your first litter. You don't need an incubator, you don't need the oxygen concentrator, you don't need all of that, especially if this is your first time doing this. You just need the bare minimum essentials to make sure that your puppies are thriving and they don't fade during these first crucial weeks. Now, I'll be putting together a whelping checklist that has everything on it that you guys need to have successful litters and a successful whelp. So be sure to keep an eye out for that, and that'll be in the description below. So I hope this video was helpful. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of your pups.